it's 2022, or actually ending from 2021 and going into 2022, and it was just another year and we've made it. And I should first give you a reason as to why I haven't done anything completely for the whole year. And I've always come with these new videos and then I tell you I haven't done anything in a minute. I just have to time manage better than I normally do, or than I usually do. So no excuses. But either way, I'm here with a new video from this year entering into the next year, and I really want to give you one of the things that I made a purchase on, and it's one of the best purchases that I've made in a lifetime. And it's the Sony A6600 Sony mirrorless camera that I think came out in 2018, and it is by far, for me, one of the best cameras I've ever had. And right now I'm shooting on a Sony FS5 Mark II, and I've done bigger projects with this one, but I really wanted to get something a little bit different as a camera B, a lot smaller, and I didn't want to have to get another a Sony FS5. I think that's just too big to lug around all the time, and I want something smaller that could do the same thing as what this camera could do. So I got the Sony A6600, and it is exactly almost to the T of what this camera could do. So as it being my camera B, I usually use it only for when I'm doing anything in a documentary sense of the word. And I don't necessarily have to have it on video shoots or commercial shoots or anything of that nature. It really just acts as a camera B to my camera A. And with that purchase, I should also say I got the 16-55 2.8, and I must say it is one of the most sauciest pieces of things you could really get. And right now I'm shooting on the, I think, what is it, the 16-105 or 18-105 4.0 on the Sony 5 on this thingamajiggy right here. I should really be using this on that, but I didn't want to use this on that. I really wanted to show you this while I'm using that, and you get the idea. This is really a really good combination for the price budget that I spent. This is like, what, $1,300? And I think for the camera itself, you're talking about another $1,400. So combined, it's a pretty penny, but it's going to last me a really good long time. And so why did I get it? Why didn't I get the Sony FX3 or anything in that nature? I didn't really want to switch too far from what I already have right now. I didn't want to get a full frame camera because, you know, these are 10 times the price for full frames than I really need. And I didn't really want to have too much of a difference between the cropping between this camera and what the FX3 or any other camera, full frame camera, could really do. There's very little cons that I find with this camera. I think for most people in the world who have watched YouTube and have seen the benefits of this camera, one of the benefits is no time limit on your recording. Similar to what I have with this FS5. No time limit on the recording. Now, the FS5 is definitely a cinema camera, while this is more like a DSLR. But it's a DSLR with some steroids in it. So I could take pictures with this, as well as I could do video with this, and I'm not timed as far as the recording is concerned. Now, according to Potato Jet, he said he timed it out. Really, it's not really unlimited. It's something like 13 hours or something like that. That's fine. I mean, that's practically unlimited as far as I'm concerned. I'm not filming for 13 hours straight. Nobody does that. At least I'm not going to do that. So for what this is doing, it really does what I needed to do. So if I'm on camera A and camera B, they are both doing what I needed to do simultaneously. I don't have to worry about, oh, let me go run over there because that's going to run out in 30 minutes or so. I could just let them rock and do their thing. Turn on the button, the record button, and then bam. I really think that this was a really good bang for the buck. So unlimited time recording, ooh, extra good. And battery life on here is as long as the battery life that comes with this camera. This battery, the BPU60, is a chunkier size battery for the FS5 Mark II. The battery for this one is just as long lasting in power. I could film with this practically for a couple of hours before I have to switch. So what I ended up doing was I ended up buying two of the batteries. This is by Watson. This is not the battery that comes with the camera. That's over there somewhere in my other camera bag. And this works just the same at half the price. So if I was to buy another battery, an extra battery for this camera by Sony, that battery was going to run me at $79 With inflation, I think it probably went up a couple of dollars or so. But with this, it's only like 40. So I got 2 of these for the price of 1. And they work literally exactly the same, no flaws whatsoever. Headphone jack, mic jack connected into this piece of beauty here. So you could connect the mic to it at the hot shoe right here, and you could actually hear it with some headphones, no matter what kind of style headphones you have. I think this is what a quarter or a 3/4. I don't know. I never know those things. You could plug a set of headphones in here and listen to the audio of the mic as it's doing its thing. And it will probably get into more details on how that works later on. But for the most part, this is one of its best features. You could listen and use a mic at the same time. But one of the things that I did like about this particular camera that I have with experience with other DSLRs, particularly Canon speaking, and I'm talking about probably the lower end Canons or the lesser ones, the beginning DSLR cameras, is when filming with that, you have to switch to the film mode in order to film. This has a dedicated film mode as well on it, but in the nick of a push of a button, which is on the side here, you just click that button no matter what mode you're in. And I think that's actually a pretty sweet deal. I don't have to keep switching the dial, switching the dial from taking a picture to going to film mode. This is one of the brilliant things that I think Sony has up over the edge of Canon in that sense, or at least my experience with Canon and some of their lesser DSLRs. So like, the T6 and the T7 and things of that nature. This is a game changer for me because I don't have to worry about switching the dial every 3 seconds. I just click it, leave it on what I want to leave it on, and click for record and stop for recording when I'm done, and take a picture when I'm ready to go and just take a picture. It's a real game changer for me. Some people don't like it. I particularly do not care where it exists as long as it does what it needs it to do. I find that Nikons actually have that same ability. You can record in any mode, no matter what you're doing, and you're just good to go. Record to start and record to stop. I like it. This is a game changer for me. So if you are into that kind of thing, this may be something you're going for. I don't like this chair. Picture profile, it's in here as it's in there, so I can match my picture profile from here as well as in this Sony FS5. I believe it has up to, I use a Profile 7, which is the S-Log 2. Whenever I'm using the S-Log, it will definitely match from camera to camera. Simple ease, I don't want to have to match cameras from different brands and make one match the other. Too much work for me. If they're both the same for me, a lot easier, less work as far as I'm concerned. Now, some people are matching cameras with no problem at all. I'm not one of those people. Gamma Assist, awesome sauce, so you get the idea of what it would look like if you actually put a LUT on it, and that's another game changer for me. Barely use it, but when I do, I get an idea of what it's gonna look like on the editing software of choice. And again, once they match, it makes life a lot simpler for me. So this is matching my bigger cinema camera, and that is, again, a plus for me. A lot lighter, a lot smaller. I could put it in my bag and I don't feel anything when it comes to lugging this around, as opposed to lugging that around. It's a lot bigger, so you feel the weight of it, even though it's not really that big. Eventually, 5 pounds feels like about 100 pounds after a while. So this is really the opposite of that. The ISO range on this is ridiculous. It goes up to some crazy 100,000, 400 something of another, a million. It's just really a high number that I will never or know anybody would ever really use. The highest I go is about 1,600 sometimes, and the lowest I could go is 64. Which is, I think, is native, and as well as this Sony FS5, it's also native, it's at 64. So on a low light capability, this doesn't work as well as this does in a lower lights situation. And I should do a comparison test with that to show you guys, but I'm not gonna do that. You get the idea. The higher the ISO, the more grain is gonna enter into it, and I will do that eventually where I'll show you how high this could go based on the lighting situation. But for the most part, right now, this is set on 2500, and this is, well, it's not on. I shouldn't have any grain whatsoever. I'm having minimal light on a really low aperture. This is like the 3rd time or 4th time I brought up this chair because it keeps slipping down. It's really making me not like this camera. This chair very much. Did I tell you that this camera shoots in 4K? I think I should have led with that. I'm not into any more higher resolution cameras because that means I need a bigger drive to store all that more data that the bigger resolutions need whenever editing, and 4K is my max at this time, and this shoots at 4K. I should have really led with that. This really shoots equal to this because again, 4K to 4K, 1080 to 1080. For 4K, you really get a decent, not more than decent, you get supreme, awesome beautiness with this when filming at that frame rate or that resolution. So you do have the option to shoot at 4K at XAVCS as well as XAVCS HD and the ever popular AVC HD, which I never use. It's really good at 4K, and here are your frame rates that you get. So if you're filming in 1080, you could go as high as 120 frames per second, so you get that smooth, or what they consider super smooth slow-mo. Not so much in the case of your frame rates. If you decide to go at 4K, the max you could go is 30 frames per second. So hey, I'm not going to lose out in anything. There may be a slight crop factor when you're really doing it that high if you need slow-mo in your 4K footage. I don't like switching resolutions if I don't have to. So if it stays in 4K, it stays in 4K. Once it stays in HD, I keep it in HD. So 4K for the buck, it really is good. Look how small this is. I've been holding it. The grip is really firm, nice and tight. It never feels like it's gonna slip out of my hand. Never. It's never gonna do that. S&Q settings on here, similar to the S&Q settings. Again, on this camera, I mean, Sony really seems to really be doing their thing. Color is still pretty good. I'm not super pleased with the color in some picture aspects. I've had a weird situation where every now and again, I would take a picture and the sky is blue and it comes out to this weird green thing. I don't understand it, but it's still not as bad as my experience with the Sony A6000. I was able to shoot what the image was great, right? The person in the shot, the subject was great, but the sky really had this really mint green color and out of the camera, and I just didn't like that. I wanted to be able to control that later on. I probably didn't know what I was doing, and which is why that ended up happening. But the color is still close to what Canon can do, and that's where Canon always tends to win. The colors really seem to be saucy, really good and nice and yum yum. This is not bad. I'm not going to complain, and neither is this one. The color looks fine on both of these. It's just that my eye is used to what Canon colors can do. But Sony is winning me over its tech capabilities, and I think this is what is going to happen. I'm going to slowly move away from Canon, not too much, but slowly move away from Canon and just go into the whole Sony line of things, and their lenses are definitely a plus as far as I'm concerned. I could get into the whole menu system. I'll do that in another tutorial where I dive in more into what it could do underneath the hood. I think for anybody who's looking to get a crop sensor camera and they don't want to spend too much money, you could start off at this level and go upward if you choose to. So for $1,300 and $1,400, depending on the bundle that you get, you really get a good deal for your buck. The camera does charge with the battery inside, so you can still put it in use while it's charging. That's kind of a plus. However, I do have extra batteries with a battery base that allows me to charge the batteries while I'm actually using this. And 90% of the time, if I ever really switch, it's just a one-time switch. So again, battery life a lot better on here than, let's say, on the A6000, which I do have an experience with. So this is the basic reason why I actually got this camera. I really love it. I'm going to use it more this year coming up, and I'll probably use this one less. I'm not too sure yet, but for the most part, you guys, if you really are looking into getting a camera, I don't think you should not get this if you have the budget for a camera that you want to really get your hands on and do some amazing things. So I hope you guys like what I had to give you here today. Zeb's Corner. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the little belly thing, as you all know, so I can come up with stuff when I come with stuff. And I will definitely, I am keeping my promise for sure from this year going into the next year. By the time you see this, will be the next year. And you will definitely know that I am going to be bringing you more stuff because I do have a lot more to give. And I'll be covering more of the things that I've been doing while I was away for all this time, I've really been doing a lot of recording and video at the same time. And it always just takes the energy out of me to kind of really capture what I've been doing at that moment as I'm doing it, because my brain just can't really do 2 things or 3 things at one time. So sorry, I'm not that great at multitasking. This is what I promised to you. You will see me more next year, and I will be giving you, hopefully, more tips and tricks and things of that nature in both video and in audio. And yeah, that's it. Stay safe. Have a blessed new year as you're coming into it, or you already are in it. And may everybody be safe and happy and prosperous.